In this episode, we explore what Netflix's freedom and responsibility model really means for transformation leaders, the promise, the pitfalls, and the lessons you can apply in your own organization.
Welcome to the deep dive. If you are in a leadership role today, or, steering complex transformation, the goal isn't just efficiency anymore.
No, not at all.
It's agility. We all need faster decisions, real innovation, the ability to pivot almost instantly when markets shift, or frankly, when the world shifts.
And what our sources really hammer home is that agility isn't just about a new process or some software fix.
Right.
It really demands an environment built on trust. It means organizations have to, trade that old bureaucratic control for genuine empowerment.
Which brings us, inevitably, face-to-face with one of the most, famous and maybe intensely debated organizational models out there right now.
You mean the freedom and responsibility culture, the one Netflix really codified?
Exactly that one.
Yeah, for transformation leaders, that model is, it's the definition of high risk, high reward. It looks great, the results are alluring, but it's also, a serious cautionary tale.
If you try to just copy-paste it.
Precisely. If you try it without understanding the deep foundation it requires.
So our mission today is to unpack this whole high-stakes philosophy.
Right.
We want to go beyond the buzzwords, look at the principles, the uncompromising principles, the measurable upsides, those hidden risks that seem to trip everyone up, and maybe most importantly, practical ways you might adapt some of these ideas for your own situation.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, let's unpack this then. When we first hear freedom in a business context, I think a lot of us jump to maybe flexible work hours or dress codes.
Yeah, the easy stuff.
But the sources are really clear. This freedom and responsibility model, it's a serious operating system. It's not casual freedom at all.
No, it's a very deliberate trade-off. You get enormous freedom, yes, but you immediately take on enormous responsibility.
Wow.
And the model really hinges on four interlocking principles, non-negotiable ones.
Okay, what's the first?
First is pure decision-making freedom. And this is empowerment taken to its extreme. Employees, like at all levels, aren't just allowed to make high-stakes calls.
They're expected to.
They are expected to, without running up the chain for layers of approval.
Okay, that sounds, both exciting and maybe a bit terrifying for managers used to being that final okay.
Oh, absolutely. Which is why the next principles are so crucial. That freedom, it's balanced very strictly by number 2, unwavering accountability for results. Meaning you deliver clear, measurable outcomes or you're likely out. It's performance driven to the extreme, and that's tied directly to the third principle, radical transparency.
Ah, okay. So if people are making big calls,
they need the same information the CEO has. Market data, financials, strategic context, constraints. You can't expect, high quality decisions if people are operating in the dark.
Makes sense. And the fourth principle, the one you call the foundation.
Right. The bedrock. That's talent density.
Talent density.
This is absolutely fundamental. The performance bar has to be exceptionally high. Mediocrity just isn't tolerated.
Because you're delegating huge decisions.
Exactly. If you push mission-critical choices down to everyone, you have to be incredibly confident that every single person making those calls is a top performer. The whole system rests on the assumption that individuals are capable and that they're ready to face the consequences.
Wow. That level of intensity, it sounds like it could lead to burnout. But then you look at the data, the payoff, it's hard to argue with.
It really is.
And this is where, the rubber meets the road. It's not just theory. There's actual research showing concrete benefits when companies manage to combine that high autonomy with that high accountability.
Yes, and the benefits directly accelerate strategic change. We see 3 main measurable advantages pop up again and again in the research.
Okay, like what?
First, these organizations see a significantly higher rate of successfully commercializing new ideas. We're talking 40% higher.
40%. That's not just incremental, that's huge. What drives that specifically, getting ideas to market?
It's largely about removing friction. If an employee sees an opportunity, they can act. They don't need 3 months and 6 signatures to tweak a feature based on feedback.
They can just move.
They move, they iterate, they commercialize much faster, which naturally leads to the second metric. These places see decision-making speed up by as much as 25% compared to traditional hierarchies.
Faster decisions, more innovation actually hitting the market. But does this intense environment crush people?
Well, that's the interesting part. If the system works as intended, apparently not. The third metric is about sustainability. Employee engagement scores average 20% higher than their peers.
20% higher engagement, even with the pressure.
It seems so. If people feel genuinely trusted, if they see their work directly impacting the business, they tend to be more invested, even, it seems, in a high-stakes game.
So, okay. Faster decisions, way more innovation making money, and more engaged employees. The upside is crystal clear. So why isn't every company doing this? It sounds like trying to copy it often ends badly.
Oh, it does, because there's this pervasive myth, this idea you can just, take the fun part, the freedom, and kind of ignore the really tough foundational bits.
And you can't cherry pick.
You absolutely cannot. The whole system collapses if the prerequisites aren't solidly in place. We talked about talent density as a core principle, but there are also 3 critical conditions the organization itself must meet.
Okay, conditions, not principles.
Yeah.
What are these non-negotiables for the system to even have a chance?
Right. First, you have to maintain that high talent density. This isn't just about hiring stars. It means the vast majority, the bulk of your workforce, has to be consistently operating at a peak level already.
Before you even start.
Yes. If you give this kind of autonomy to a workforce that's just average or inconsistent, well, freedom turns into chaos and very expensive mistakes very fast. You can't delegate high-stakes stuff to people who aren't ready.
So the minute you compromise on hiring standards or performance management,
you undermine the entire model. Condition number 2, clarity of strategic direction. Absolute clarity.
meaning everyone knows where the ship is sailing.
Exactly. Teams need the big picture. They need the guardrails. If you grant autonomy without that clear strategic intent, you just get fragmented initiatives. Everyone's working hard, sure, but
slightly different directions, wasting energy.
precisely, like having a dozen brilliant sailors all charting courses to different islands. And third, you need robust measurement systems.
Because accountability needs data.
Accountability demands objective tracking. If you give out freedom, but you don't define success clearly, or you don't track the results rigorously, accountability just vanishes. It becomes guesswork and finger-pointing.
Okay, so it's pretty clear why this model thrives in certain environments, right? Like high-growth tech, digital-first companies, maybe creative industries, places where speed and innovation are paramount.
Yes, places where those conditions, high talent, clear strategy, good metrics might already be more naturally present, or where the benefits of decentralization outweigh the inherent risks.
Right. Let's tackle maybe the biggest misconception here. Many leaders see this freedom and responsibility thing and think, unstructured, less management. They mix it up with, like, pure flexibility.
That's the classic mistake.
Okay.
And it's where so many attempts just completely fall flat.
Because the reality is different.
Completely. They confuse freedom with flexibility. Flexibility is, low stakes, bending rules for individual preference, like working from home sometimes. Freedom in this model means operating with huge autonomy, but strictly within non-negotiable strategic boundaries.
So it's their structure.
Oh, absolutely. But it's not external rules like a giant policy manual. It requires more discipline, arguably, but it's an internal discipline. The structure is embedded in 3 core disciplines every single employee has to internalize.
Okay, interesting. What are these embedded disciplines then?
First, absolute clarity of purpose. Everyone, down to the individual contributor, must understand and be able to articulate the strategic priorities, so their autonomy doesn't just fracture into a million unrelated side projects.
You need to know the boundaries of the playing field.
You have to know the boundaries. Second, shared context. This goes back to that radical transparency we mentioned. It's not just sharing high-level results. It's ensuring everyone making decisions has access to the same current data, market signals, operational constraints, financials.
So decisions are based on shared facts, not personal guesses.
Exactly. That alignment is crucial when things are moving fast. And the third discipline, and this is often the hardest one, rigorous talent curation.
Back to talent density again.
But this is the active maintenance of it, continuously. You simply cannot tolerate underperformance when high autonomy is the norm. Every single hiring decision, every promotion, every retention call has to reinforce that high capability standard needed for decentralized action.
That constant evaluation, maybe even culling, that's tough. But it's the price.
It's the non-negotiable price of this kind of organizational freedom, according to the model's proponents.
Yeah, the analogy that really clicks for me here is thinking about an elite sports team versus, say, an open mic night.
I like that.
On the field, elite athletes look like they have total autonomy, making split-second calls. But that freedom only works because the playbook, the fundamentals, the trust, it's all drilled into muscle memory.
The structure is deeply internalized, shared, not imposed from outside.
Exactly. It's not unstructured. The structure is just different.
And skipping those embedded disciplines, purpose, context, talent curation, that's the real danger zone. That's when you get what some call invisible silos.
Where teams drift apart.
Yeah, autonomous teams start pulling in different directions because they lack shared context, or they pursue projects misaligned with the strategy. And all that initial momentum just collapses under the weight of misalignment. Freedom without that internal discipline, it becomes fragility fast.
Okay, this is super insightful, but it might sound daunting, like you have to be Netflix or nothing. So let's get practical. For leaders listening, the good news, hopefully, is you don't have to adopt this wholesale, right?
Absolutely not. You don't have to fire half your staff and rebuild from scratch. The key is strategic adaptation, taking elements that fit.
So what are some first steps, maybe 3 actionable things?
Okay, 3 steps. First, don't go 0 to 60. You need to explicitly define freedom boundaries. Meaning, be crystal clear with your teams. Here is where you have full autonomy to act, maybe spending up to a certain amount or launching a specific type of feature. And here's where alignment, maybe with other teams or senior leaders, is still required.
So draw the map clearly. You have the keys, but only for these specific roads.
Exactly. That transparency reduces fear and ambiguity. Second, you must pair autonomy with clear KPIs. Key performance indicators.
Make success measurable.
If you grant freedom, you absolutely have to define objectively what success looks like for that freedom and make those metrics visible to everyone involved. That prevents the accountability vacuum. Everyone knows the score.
Makes sense. Boundaries and scorecards. What's third?
Third, and this is crucial, especially for a larger, more traditional organizations, scale through pilots.
Don't try a big bang rollout.
Please don't. Test the approach first. Pick select teams. Maybe ones that already have higher talent density and a clear focus. Give them defined freedom, set the KPIs, and measure everything.
Learn what breaks it in your context.
Precisely. See where the constraints are in your culture, your systems. Learn, adapt, and only then expand strategically based on proven results, not just on theory.
Okay, that feels much more manageable. Pilot programs, clear boundaries, clear metrics.
It's about being deliberate and incremental.
So let's pull this all together. What's the core lesson here for leaders trying to drive change and build agility?
I think the central message really is that freedom isn't the opposite of structure. It's not chaos versus control.
It's the outcome.
It's the outcome of having the right kind of structure, the internal disciplines, the shared context, the high capability. It's the result of consciously engineering teams that are highly capable, highly informed, and trust the strategic boundaries you've set.
So the challenge isn't whether to give freedom, because agility kind of demands it now.
Right. The challenge is how. How do you meticulously engineer the conditions, that clarity, that context, the measurement, the talent density that turn autonomy from this potential wrecking ball into a genuine strategic asset?
It's a shift in focus for leadership.
It really is. It requires moving your primary focus from managing bureaucratic process to relentlessly curating performance and context. It's a different, maybe harder kind of leadership work.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, our listeners, to chew on. If that rigorous, relentless talent curation maintaining that exceptionally high performance bar is truly non-negotiable for this high freedom model to actually work, what specific metrics should a non-tech company, maybe a more traditional business, use to define and measure top performance before they even think about implementing high autonomy? What does talent density truly mean outside of Silicon Valley?
That's a tough question, and getting that wrong is probably where most attempts fail before they even begin.